What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Evening Double Podcast, episode number 30. This was a solo episode with just myself, Erik, talking about the Habanero 100 preview. So I'm running the 100 Miler down in Houston this weekend, starting on Saturday. Just went through everything of why am I doing it? Why did I sign up to put myself through something like this? Kind of just like an overview of everything about the race, what it's going to look like, fueling strategies, my training that I've been doing leading up to it, my plan, the stuff that they'll have at the aid stations, any type of things. If you're interested in hearing what a 100 miler is all about, we'll also have a recap next week with myself and Keaton to talk about it. Unfortunately, Keaton is not on this pod. His grandmother passed away, so keep her in your thoughts. Keep him in your thoughts. So wanted to get one out this week. Gave him told him to take a week off. So yeah. Besides that, I hope you guys enjoy the pod. This was my first ever solo one, so we'll see how it goes, see how you like it. Hopefully, maybe if we have the situation, we be able to get better and do more of these, myself or Keaton. But we hope you enjoy episode 30. All right, so where do we start? Habanero 100 Miler preview. This will be a fun one. There's a lot to take in, a lot to note, and honestly, it'll probably be good for me to go through everything. Even though I've been slowly doing it, it's definitely going to be an experience for myself, and can't wait to share the story. And hopefully, I come back next week, 100-mile finisher. That's the main thing. It's definitely going to be a tough race. It's definitely, you're going to have your mental battles. You're going to have runner highs, runner lows, where you just want to stop. Somehow you get through it, up and down. I just know it's going to be a lot of that. When you're doing a 100 miler, obviously I don't have a lot of experience with it. But hopefully if I can walk through with you guys, or if people are listening back to this before their 100 miler, I can help to answer at least some questions of what we're going to be trying to do going into it, having a good mindset and everything like that. But really just to start is, I'm sure people, or at least people have asked me a lot of times, why in the world are you doing this? Why are you putting yourself through something like this, a 100-mile race in Texas in August? And the short answer to that basically is because I want to tell myself I can do hard things. Yeah, you have to be a little crazy, and I consider myself definitely a little crazy to be doing this. I'm definitely feeling some nerves. I definitely have excitement, but I'm definitely feeling nerves now that we're in race week here, only a few days away. The high, it's in Belleville, Texas, which is about an hour outside Houston, hour west of Houston, kind of right in between Houston and Austin, right in no man's land there. The high on Saturday, I believe, is 101 degrees. The high all week is around 98 to 100. So it's going to be hot. it's going to be really hot. But I want to tell myself that I can do hard things. And hopefully when I complete this race and battle through all the mental and physical aspects of it, I come out on the other side where when I face challenges, no matter if it's at work, if it's just in running in general, if it's with family, if it's with friends, whatever, I can tell myself this is nothing. If you can do what you just did, you can do any of these other things whenever there's some issues. So that's kind of my main reason behind this. I want to show myself that I can do hard things. So hopefully I can. I signed up for this race, I believe, back in March. So I'm a tournament director at the Kentucky Golf Association. So I run all the golf tournaments. And, I plan out that whole schedule. I'm a big schedule maker, and as I'm making that schedule, I'm making my running schedule around it basically. And I went, let's see, I was trying to figure out a good fall marathon. I was hoping to run New York City, as a lot of people know that have listened to this pod. Unfortunately, I did not get in with my 2 hour and 34-minute time. I did not qualify, and I will only try to do it through time. I won't do it through charity or anything else. So I was thinking about doing that one. Obviously, that backfired. I was too late to enter Chicago. I was thinking about doing Chicago again. So I really started thinking. I ended up signing up for CIM, which is a late marathon. It's first weekend in December, which is one of the latest that you'll have here in America for a fall marathon. So really you don't have to start training until about the start of September. That's about 13 weeks. So I was thinking to myself, like, what am I going to do? My last marathon is Boston in April. That's, what is that, 8 months? That's a long time between races, especially for someone who is still newer into the sport and wants, is fresh and wants to be able to race more, but still setting PRs. So I was thinking, like, what can I do to kind of fill those times? Do I want to run halves? What do I want to do? And I have 2 half marathons signed up. I am going to do the Urban Bourbon here in Louisville in middle of October. So that will be October 17th, I believe. So that's a hilly one. It's not going to be a PR race, but it's a race I think I can go out to try to win. So I had that one. And then I'm squeezing in Indianapolis, doing the Indy half, November 6th or 7th, somewhere around there. That's going to be one where I'm going to try to break 110. That's going to be my big half marathon, about a month out from the full, to kind of get a test to see where I am, to see if I am going to be able to hit my goals at CIM. So I did do those, but still, it's a long time of just, I wanted to train for something, and over the summer, it's hard to really train hard for something. If you had like one of those last chance Boston qualifier races or Berlin, which a lot of my friends are doing, those are in September, and those are tough because you got to start training in June. So you have to train all the way through the summer. So I started looking around. I was like, what if I did like a trail race or something? Maybe that would be fun. And I had just a couple weekends open, with the busy schedule. I had just a couple weekends open. I kept looking. And I somehow ended up on this Habanero 100 Miler. Just kind of caught my eye. I was looking, do I do a 50K, 50 miler? That's what you should do. But unfortunately, my head works a little differently. I like to jump and do hard things. So I was looking at 100 milers, and this one came across, and it was on the weekend that I had off. And I knew leading up to it, I didn't have really anything going on this week. I had no events this week either. I had a full 10 days off. So I would be able to, mentally and physically both prepare for it. I wouldn't be super busy going right into it. But so this ended up on the calendar. Crazy to think it was 6 months ago that I signed up, and we're already back, and it's here. So be happy to try to talk about everything going into it, but that's kind of how I landed on it. Little bit of a race background. So I actually am going to pull it up. The location, as I mentioned before, is Belleville, Texas. So it's about an hour outside Houston. It's this race is actually it's on a ranch. So it's I think it's called the 7L Ranch. Start looking up here. Yeah, 7IL Ranch. For people who know it better, maybe it's 7L. But it's on a ranch here. It's a 10K loop. It's technically in Cat Spring, Texas, so just outside Belleville. But it's a 10K loop on this ranch. And I'm just looking at the site here. It's trail racing over Texas, and it's called Texas's Hottest. And that's certainly for a reason there. So this ranch it's a 10K loop, and you kind of just go, it looks like you basically go out for about 4K, come back for 4K, and then you kind of do a 2K kind of loop around where the start and finish is. It's very interesting. One thing that they did new this year, you actually start right in the village. So you start in Belleville, which is a new thing this year, and it's a high noon start for the 100 miler. And basically, a musket gets put up in the air, it goes off right at high noon, and you're off, which I think is pretty cool. And it's a 10K to get to the ranch, so it's basically one less loop. I believe if I was doing my math right, it was 18. Oh, it was 16 loops. So now it's 15 loops. So you get 10K on the road first, from Belleville to the ranch, which is nice. Just splits it up a little bit, but it's going to be 101 degrees. So the thing that I'm thinking through here is it's going to be the hottest, in the beginning, which is, I think, is good. It could drain you and kind of wipe you out, but at least, unless it really takes a long time for you, your hottest is going to be your first 8 hours, basically, probably your first 6 hours from noon to 6 o'clock until the sun starts going down. So that's a good thing, I would say. We have to just bear through those first 6 hours of being that hot. But yeah, so basically they have it here. It is Mill Creek Road. Basically, it's just 10K. You got shuttle buses that'll bring you, and then you also have your own. I think my girlfriend's just gonna drop me off myself, and then drive back, and then it brings you right into that 7IL ranch. And something interesting about the ranch is basically they have like designated areas, for like camping and spectators. So our plan is we're going to be flying down on Friday. We're going to try to bring our tent, air mattress, and stuff like that to have that set up in that area. It's about a 400-meter area, they said. You can start setting up on Friday at noon, to kind of set up a camp, get everything kind of together there. So Lisette, my girlfriend, she's going to be my crew. It's going to be about an hour and 10 minutes between 10Ks. That's kind of my goal. The overall goal, I guess I can put that out there, is about 20 hours, which is a 12-minute pace average. My goal is to run about 11:30 pace while I'm running, and then to be able to stop for 2-3 minutes every time when I'm coming in, whether that's to fill up water bottles, switch out snacks, change shoes, change socks, whatever it may be. But that should bank about 2-3 minutes to be able to do that, to average the 12 minutes. So that's the goal. Obviously, things are going to go awry, but that's just kind of where we're sitting there. So one thing to note on this race is, with it being on the ranch, it's obviously all soft surface, but from what it looks like from pictures and everything from previous years, it's like a sand basin. So it looks like you're going to be running over a lot of sandy areas. That kind of worries me a little bit, because I don't know if you've ever run on the beach. It makes it very difficult. I'm hoping those sandy areas are few and far between, and they hopefully get packed down pretty quickly by all the other runners. But that is something to note. That would definitely make it a lot more difficult, to be able to do that. But yes, besides that, the heat's going to be the biggest thing. And we're going to talk a little bit here about fueling strategy, that I have a plan to do. Hundreds, from what my research I found, is to kind of in the first half start with a liquid diet and then move towards more of a solid food diet in the second half. And that's a nice thing about this race, is they will have 2 aid stations on the course. First one that you pass at like mile 1 and 5, kind of on your way out and back in on the loop, it's going to be an unmanned water station. So you have to do it yourself, but I'm going to have a vest on me that has 2 bottles kind of right on my chest that I can keep filling up, whether it's given to Lisette or not, or passing those stations. They do have a rule in there. I don't know how much they'll enforce it, but they do have a rule where you have to have a full bottle every time you pass through. So I don't know if there's someone there checking or what, but they said it's unmanned. So I don't know the exact rules. Maybe that's just, a safety precaution, but it's something to think about. It's not an entirely hilly route. It's about 4,500 feet over the 100 mile. So about 45 feet a mile, which is not nothing, but it's not going to be as hilly as a lot of like ultra 100 milers tend to be. I feel like they usually gain a little more than that, especially over such a long distance. So I don't feel like the elevation is going to be the biggest factor. It's going to be more of the heat, definitely in the beginning, and then possible sand areas throughout it. But fueling wise, yeah. So first half, we're going to be having a lot of electrolytes. I mean, the whole way we're going to have a lot of electrolytes, but basically just leading up that morning with the noon start, we'll start right there. We're going to try to have probably about two I would say liters of water with electrolytes before we even start, just because it's going to be so hot. You want to try to bank on some of that because you're going to sweat it out so quickly once you get going, even not moving at that fast of a pace. So that's kind of my plan there. Before we even start, we're going to have that. And then once we start, I'm going to have those 2 bottles with me. One's just going to be pure water, and then one I'm going to have electrolyte mix in for that first 10K. Once I get to the ranch, I'm going to switch out that bottle that had just water in it with Lisette, and we're going to have a bottle that has a Morton mix in it. So we're going to try to have some carbs in there for the next couple laps. So 2 and 3, we're going to have an electrolyte and carbs mix. So we'll have those 2 going. Probably after that, we'll switch back to water and electrolytes for another couple laps. But we're going to have a lot of sodium. Electrolytes and sodium is going to be key because we're going to be sweating out so much. The goal is to have about close to 100 grams of carbs per hour and then about 200 to 300 calories per hour. Obviously, it's going to depend on the time of race and location, like how that may vary a little bit. Maybe I'm more on the side of 150 calories one time, or maybe 350 a different hour, whatever it may be. But we're going to be trying to constantly fuel. You're going to eat a lot. That's what I've learned from my research is you have to eat a lot or you're just going to start getting lightheaded. You just got to keep trying to keep stuff down. And as I said, first half, we're going to try to keep it more liquid. And then they're going to start cooking. They have another aid station at the back end of the course around the 5K mark. So about halfway through every time. So you'll hit it every like 10K. So basically you're hitting that aid station at 5K and then you're hitting the start finish. So your crew at 10K. So every 5K you got something, which is good. They said they're going to start cooking different things in the back. So we're going to start trying to eat a little more actual food, whether that's chips, pretzels, boiled potatoes, and then like a broth and ramen. I heard that's really good. And then bread too. Definitely going to try to just literally some slices of bread. But that's going to be a lot. It's not going to go to plan. I already know that. I know that this race, something's going to go wrong, just like how we had that 100-miler in the Keys with the relay. Something's going to go wrong. You're going to have to change stuff up. But I'm confident that we'll be able to make that change, whether it's I can't keep, XYZ down, maybe I'm having trouble keeping this down. Let's try this. Or, you got to make sure you have a lot of stuff to have to be able to, when you're running, you're like thinking, I don't want that. I feel like I've only been eating that. Like I actually want something good, So we're going to have a lot of options. Also, another thing is we're going to have a lot of ice because we're going to try to pack ice, whether it's in like the arm sleeves I'm going to use or in the hat I'm going to use. I'm going to use one of those big hats that has the back to it, so it kind of covers my whole neck because the UV index on Saturday is 11, which I didn't even know was possible. I thought 10 was the highest, so it's going to be an extreme UV. So we're going to have to make sure to cover up, especially with my pretty pale skin. I'll have a shirt, some of those UV sleeves on, and that big hat, as well as some sunscreen. But that's going to be a major part of it as well. Being able to not get sunburnt and try to stay out of that sun as much as you can, because a lot of this course is exposed on that ranch. There are some areas where you go through the trees, but there's a lot of exposed areas as well. I mean, if you can kind of envision what you would think a Texas ranch basically is going to look like, that's basically what from what I've seen, what it's going to look like. I guess what I'll talk about a little bit next is kind of my training, what I've done to lead myself up to this. Training for a 100 miler, I had no idea what I was doing. No idea. But the more I kind of got into it and researched and everything, no, I don't think anyone does. I don't think there's really a set, type of thing you should do for a 100-mile race, as much as it's more, do this for a marathon, increase your mileage, get your 20-mile runs in with effort, try to hit 70, 80-mile weeks. If you're trying to hit, this type of goal, get to 100. If you're trying to break this type of goal, it's a lot more specifics, a lot more research, a lot more that's done in the marathon. When it comes to an ultra like this, it's really just do what works for you. That's what I think is my best opinion. That's what I think has worked for me. So I ran 20 miles last weekend on Saturday. That was the longest training run that I've done over these last couple months, last 3 months. I didn't think that I needed to do it. This could come back to backfire on me. I don't know. But I've ran 6 straight 100-mile weeks, 100-plus mile weeks. I've done a lot of my running in the afternoon, a lot of doubles in the afternoon when it's 90, with a 100-degree heat index here in Kentucky. So I feel like being able to get those 100-mile weeks under me, run on fatigued legs, get some of that heat acclimation together, I think that's more important than trying to do like a 40-mile long run. And, running at, you do 20-mile run, average pace is 7 minutes. If you're running 4.5 minutes slower, it's going to be a long time on your legs. But I feel like the legs have built up over that. Workouts wise, I've kind of just, as people know who have listened to the pod, I've done a lot of speed work and threshold work, which is probably nothing that could necessarily directly benefit me in the 100-miler, but it definitely won't be negative. It'll definitely still be a positive thing for me. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe this was a terrible training plan that I've done over the last couple months. Maybe I should have done a couple 40, 50-mile long runs, where I'm out there for 6 hours. It's hard to find that time, Maybe I can, but does anyone really want to do 6 hours out on a Saturday, kind of chugging along at like a 10, 11-minute pace? I don't know. And it's definitely something to talk about. But yeah, to be honest with you, it was a pretty good last few months of training. Like I'm healthy, which is the main thing. I think a lot of that, I have to say thank you to my girlfriend, Lisette, for, putting me through 2 classes, basically of Pilates a week, keeping my hips strong, my legs strong, and working on my weak areas. And I think that's really been proven beneficial, still to be able to run between 100 and 110 miles a week. This week, we're going to have probably about almost 50 miles, probably a little under 50 miles going into it. So it will be a 150-mile week. That will be my most by far. But yeah, just talking about this week, I did a 10-6 double yesterday. So I did 16 miles yesterday. That was the last double I will do. Before this race this morning, I did 10 with some strides. Tomorrow, I'm actually doing a mile time trial. So we're going to try to PR in the mile in the same week we PR in the 100-mile, which is kind of a goofy thing, but hopefully it'll be fun because it's my last basically chance at this summer speed that I've done to try to set a PR in another distance. I got 3 seconds out of the 5K, see if I can, my PR is 4:42 in the mile. We're going to try to maybe even try to break it by 10 seconds tomorrow if I have a good day. We'll see. But I won't do probably more than 9-10 miles. With that will be the only work I do. Will just be that mile. Everything else will be easy. Thursday, probably about 7 miles, easy. Friday, want to do a little bit of a shakeout after the flight when I get down there about noon, maybe 3-4 miles, nothing more than that, but just to have the legs turn and feel what type of heat's like down there. I feel like it's going to be hotter, but it's going to be drier than it is here in Kentucky. So overall, it might not feel too much different. We'll see. But then, yeah, and then Saturday morning, I'm going to try to be able to sleep in as late as I can, which won't be that late, but you want to try to basically prioritize as much sleep as you can get, because you're not going to get any the next night, obviously. So we're going to try to get everything done, get the tent set up all on Friday when we go and check in and everything, because it opens at noon to the tent city, they call it, to start setting everything up. We have a rental car rented. Hopefully it's big enough. I probably got one of the smaller ones because I'm cheap, but yeah, that will be kind of the strategy. That's kind of been my training and strategy leading up to it. I did buy a new pair of shoes for it. I'll probably use them for hiking, or if I do any future trail races. They're called the Ultra with an Altra. Shout out Matt Muller and Ken Combs. Hooked it up. Ultra endurance shoes. They seem awesome. They seem super stable, no drop. I think they should be good shoes. Hopefully I can kind of hang on with those. But now getting a little bit more into the race strategy. Touched on a little bit more of the fueling, but race strategy wise, as I said, my goal is going to be 12-minute pace, which is 20 hours. And to be able to do that, I need to be able to make some stops when I go to the aid stations and when I get to the start stop where my crew will be, which is my girlfriend. So my goal is to be running between 11 and 11:30 pace. It's basically right around there for the mile when I'm moving. That just gives me a couple minutes here and there where I can stop, refuel, change socks, change out of my shoes if I need to. I'll bring a couple extra pairs if I want to just get a change for one thing. I'm sure I can wear my Nova Blast for one loop. It's going to be dry, so I'm going to do that. Going to bring a lot of socks. I hope I don't really have to change, but I just, you don't really know until you do it. So we're not totally sure, but either way, it's going to be fun. I don't think I have any mindset of trying to changing the pace. My goal is to just start slow and stay slow. I don't want to try to bank a little time, go out a little hotter. I heard that's no good. So we're just going to keep rolling along, and hopefully I can just maintain that 11:30 pace. And with those couple of stops and refueling, I can just kind of find a groove and just keep going and just keep going. Kind of like Mark Dowdle did, at the last backyard ultra he just did in Germany. Just keep going, keep going, keep going. You got to have that little bit of psycho mentality that he has. But yeah, so that's basically that. One thing to talk about is how are you going to handle if you have issues, and that's one thing I'm trying to think about, everything that could happen and how I can, one, avoid it, or two, deal with it while I'm there. So one of them is definitely a possible, like, stomach issues. What will happen if I start experiencing some sorts of stomach issues? And, how do you think about that? How do you go about it? There's probably no great way to think about it, but, you have to tell yourself, listen, it's a 100-mile race. There is a long time. If you have to stop for 10 minutes and whatever you got to do, if it's puke, get out of your system, poop, whatever, do it, because I think trucking along and dealing with that for 10 miles is probably going to slow you down more than stopping for a few minutes to do what you got to do. Who knows? But that's kind of going to be my plan. I got to keep telling myself it's not like a marathon. It's not like if you stop, you're done. You're not going to hit your goals or whatever. Because goal number one is to just finish. If I just finish it, get my belt buckle, that's the main goal. That's priority number one. Number two is obviously to be able to try to do the 12-minute, 20-hour, because last 2 years the winners have been 21 hours and then 20 hours. So if I do what I want to do, set out to do, and hopefully can, I should be right there for the win at the end, which would be really cool. But the main thing is your first one. You can't go into the mindset that you're going to win. You just have to go in the mindset with the goal of finishing. Then if you get 80 miles in or whatever, and you feel decent and you think you have a chance, then all of a sudden that changes. I'm definitely not going down there to try to lose. But the main goal is definitely just to win. So not too much else to talk about with this race. As I mentioned, we're flying down Friday morning. Race is at high noon on Saturday. It'll be 101 degrees. We'll have a fun time, I hope. But I hope you guys can listen to this, can follow along. I'll put the link for live tracking in there. They do have a good live tracking system that will update, I believe, every 10K, every time you come through the starting chute. So that will be fun, kind of follow my progress. There are a lot of races going on at the same time there. They have literally everything from a 10K all the way up to the actual 135-mile race, so I'm not even doing the longest one. But they have a 10K, marathon, I think a 10K half marathon, 50K 50-miler, 100K 100-miler, and 135-miler. 135-miler actually starts on Friday at 6 p.m. They start about, 18 hours earlier. The cutoff time for this race is 30 hours. So there's once 4 o'clock comes around on Sunday, that's your final bell to be able to get into the last lap. 6 o'clock is when the race officially ends. So hopefully you don't have to deal with that, but that is something else that's involved with this race. It seems like a very well put together race. They've been doing it for a long time. They seem to know exactly what they're doing. What's kind of cool is you don't get a medal if you finish this. You actually get a belt buckle, which looks awesome. Absolutely awesome. And what's even better is I'm just looking here at the payout. So if I win, I get $350, which is, not a ton, but you get a free trot race, which means you get to do another one. But it'll be fun. So hopefully we can get it done, and we can live to tell the tale next week with Keaton. Just the last couple notes to talk about is they'll have all sorts of food trucks and food there. If you're ever thinking about doing 100-miler, I really strongly encourage that you're ready for it. I believe that I am. I've done several weeks of 100-mile. I've done several 100-mile weeks. Sorry. And it wasn't like my first time just doing 100-mile weeks. I've been doing it for the last 2 years. So I've been doing a lot of miles on the legs. I believe I'm ready for it. Don't think that you should hop right into something like this, especially one that's super hot. I don't want to be, telling everyone to just go and do this. You can do hard things. It's definitely going to be a challenge. It's going to be a very hard challenge. I'm going to be seeing stars. I'm going to be going through it all. So as much as if we see content and I look good, maybe you just caught me at a good phase and we're not showing the bad part, I'll make sure if there is, make sure to show some of the bad, to show some of the realistic stuff that's going to go on during this 100-mile race. It's going to be hard. It's going to be very hard. I'm ready for the challenge, but I just want to make sure that anyone listening to this, I'm not promoting doing this without proper training, without being ready for it. I am I have a lot of fuel that we're bringing, a lot that we're going to be buying down there. We're going to have a lot of things ready. We've really planned this out, taken a lot of time to do it. Talked about it, talked it through everything, some alternate plans and everything. So, and you know what? It still all might backfire and I might end up DNFing. There's only 36 finishers last year, at about, I would say, less than half actually finished. So it's a grueling race. It's going to be hard. But I hope, as I said, that we will be back on next week's pod to give a recap of everything that went on. Besides that, we appreciate y'all listening. Looking forward to having Keaton back next week. If you guys do enjoy the pod, please just share it with a friend, give us a review. It really helps us grow. And please reach out to us. If you have guests that you think would be a good idea to have on, that have a great story, we'd love to have them on. We're always searching for new people to have on, and we'd love to hear their story. Just shoot us an email, theeveningdouble@gmail.com. Shoot us a DM on Instagram, or leave a comment here on Spotify, whatever you want to do. But that is episode number 30. We appreciate y'all listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.